What do goats have to do with potato chips? Are you trying to say you're the greatest potato chip of all time? And if you are, why haven't I ever heard of you before? Plus, I will introduce you to Louie, coming up next. Hello, goblins and goblinettes. Welcome back to another edition of Destined to be Goblin. Destined Goblin here. This is where I will try a food product of some kind, maybe something you didn't even know existed, and I will decide whether or not I should give it my Destined Goblin seal of approval. Alright, we've got a lot going on right here. We've got 3 flavors of a brand of potato chips that I have never heard of before. And as soon as I found out about this, I had to do a little research. I've got some notes to go over. First of all, before we get started with that, I do want to mention that we are here in St. Louis, as you can tell from this background. This is going to be the background for the St. Louis videos right now. I get less of a glare than when I did that video with the picture in the background, that painting, beautiful painting that we've got here, but I was getting too much of a glare from the windows, so we're going to go with this background. If it's a little bit dark right now, that is because it is a very rainy day today here in St. Louis, but we'll see how this goes. Since we are here in St. Louis, I figured that it was only appropriate to get a new mug. And since we have seen Monster Mug, we have seen Moose Mug, we have seen Elvis and my little alien buddy, and of course Mothman and several others, now we're going to have Louie with us for a while. So this is Louie right here. You're going to be seeing Louie for this next several months here. We will actually be here in St. Louis until February. I am having a hard time. I mentioned in my first St. Louis video that I am having a harder time finding the new snacks that are coming out. And I'm talking about the national brands. It seems like this area gets the new releases of flavors of national brands a little bit later than the rest of the country. So I'm having a hard time tracking down some of these things. I have found some local brands recently, so that has made me a little bit excited, because it's always nice when you get to one of these new areas to kind of get a feel for what the culinary scene is, especially as far as snacks go. And if you can find some local snack brands, a lot of times I've found some stuff that's really good, and I've been a little sad when we've had to go to our next location and I've had to leave those brands behind. Hopefully that's one of these brands that we've got today. This brand is called G.O.A.T Eats. They are the G.O.A.T Eats. It says "Get the Goat" right there. They are the G.O.A.T brand, the G.O.A.T. And I thought maybe when I saw this, I was a little confused by the logo, by the brand. I thought maybe that they were just saying, okay, we're using the animal, the goat. That's all it is. It's just the animal that we've chosen for our company. So I went to their website and I did a little research on them, and they actually call themselves the greatest of all time. Their company name, the G.O.A.T brand, is actually the G.O.A.T brand. And it stands for the greatest of all time. Now, if you're not familiar with the greatest of all time, or the GOAT saying, maybe you're not a sports fan. I'm pretty sure that's where that originated. I'm pretty sure it originated with Muhammad Ali. And now, you have all kinds of conversations. You hear it all the time. Who's the greatest football player of all time? Who's the greatest basketball player of all time? But now you hear it in everyday life as well. Who's the greatest the greatest retail brand? Who's the greatest actor? You'll hear it everywhere now. This company is calling themselves the greatest of all time potato chips. I'm going to judge you in a little bit of a different way because of that. If you actually call yourself the GOAT, you are putting a little bit of different spotlight on yourself, a little bit of different pressure on yourself as far as being judged. So I'm going to have some high standards that this company is going to have to meet up with here. As I said, I did a little research on them, and I did take some notes down. They were started in 2009, and they are made up exclusively of chefs and restaurateurs. So they were created exclusively by chefs and restaurateurs. They consider themselves the best potato chips, not in the country, in the world. Raising that bar higher and higher. These better be some really good chips. Okay, so then it's really interesting when you go to their website and you look at their products and you look at their information. They go into a full breakdown of how they make these chips and what their company is all about. It's pretty interesting. They only use Sun Glow of Idaho russet potatoes because they say these potatoes have a dense composition and a deep potato flavor. I'm not sure if I've ever had a Sun Glow of Idaho russet potato. I don't know if I would know or not. I don't know that I've ever looked that closely at the brand of potatoes that I get. They hand slice their potatoes only. So as they are producing these things, they hand slice everything. That makes, they say, that makes for a longer rather than a wider potato chip. And the reason for that is because they feel that longer potato chips are better for dipping. Makes sense to me. They rinse them twice to remove any starch. Then they hand stir every batch while they're cooking, and they say that produces a flat chip without any curls because it prevents clumping. They then cook their potato chips for 6 minutes, then they take them out and hand season all of their chips. Every single chip that they cook is weighed. They do not use any nitrogen in their bags, so as you can kind of see, well, actually, I thought one of these had a little window. Yeah, this one does. This bigger bag, you can see that really there's not a lot of air or anything in there. That is all product right there. So no nitrogen in their bags, so their bags are completely full. Their bags are hand-filled. They hand-fill 10,000 bags a day, and then they deliver those bags within 48 hours. So you get a fresher product, supposedly a much better product overall, and you also end up with a product that has a little bit less of a shelf life than if you were getting one of the big brands, obviously. Will that make a difference? I don't know. I've got 3 flavors here. We're going to start with the original. And it does say non-GMO ingredients, 0 cholesterol, naturally gluten-free, 0 grams of trans fat. These originals are 150 calories for this entire bag. Doesn't look like there's anything else. Kosher certified, peanut-free. So for anybody who has any types of allergies or anything like that, this might be a really good product. And the reason that this caught my attention, and I've got 3 flavors here. I think I saw other flavors as well. There was a big display rack of these. And the thing that caught my attention first about this, other than the fact that it was a new brand, it was these little bags. I want to say this was less than $2. This might have been like $1.99, $1.95, something like that. So I was able to get, a few varieties here for not a lot of money and try a few flavors of these. So we'll see. And the reason that this is interesting to me right now is because these are actually made right here in Missouri. And one of these bags says where. And it's this one. It's here in St. Louis. It is right here in St. Louis, Missouri. The G.O.A.T brand celebrates the snack, they say. Every one of our recipes is handmade using simple premium ingredients. In every crunch, dollop, and shake, there are over 20 years of chef-driven dedication to flavor, texture, and consistency. So get the best thing that ever happened to your pantry. Get the G.O.A.T. Over 20 years. They were started in 2009, so I guess they're talking cumulative there. I guess we will see. Let's go ahead and start with the original flavor. Looking at this, first of all, there's a very strong potato aroma, very strong potato chip aroma. They look very much like kettle chips, and one thing I can see right now that I sort of disagree with from their description of themselves is the curling. Because there are a lot of curled chips in there. So it does look like the bag was completely filled up to the point where it was sealed, where it was closed. That is definitely a curled chip. And I can see what they're talking about there as far as a longer rather than wider. if this chip had not been curled, that definitely would be a very long rather than wide chip. So here we go. This is the original G.O.A.T Eats, the G.O.A.T brand potato chip. Here we go. I guess a lot of this depends on your definition of the greatest of all time as far as potato chips. I guess that depends on what you like in a potato chip. If you like a homemade type, now this one is a little bit longer, it's a little bit less curled. If you like a homemade type of potato chip, this tastes very much like a homemade potato chip. If you're more familiar with something like a Lay's potato chip or a Ruffles potato chip, this is nothing like that. And if you like that Lay's, Ruffles versus maybe say a kettle chip, you might not like the, or versus a homemade potato chip, you might not like this at all. I prefer the Lay's, Ruffles type of potato chip. This is very similar to a kettle chip, but I'll tell you one thing. We've got 2 more flavors to go, and I'm going to try another one of these also. But right now, if you were to offer me a bag of the G.O.A.T or a bag of Kettle brand potato chips, I would take the Kettle brand right now, even for the original flavor. There's a lot of potato flavor here. There's a nice level of salt. It's a good flavor. If you really like a strong potato flavor in your potato chip, this definitely delivers on that. If that's not exactly what you're looking for, if you're looking more for that overall potato chip experience, maybe this is not the one. There is a, I don't know if I'm going to accurately be able to describe this. There is a something that happens when you're cooking potato chips, homemade potato chips, especially if you're frying them in oil or whatever the process is. You get that. Sometimes you will get that, even if you drain them and they're not greasy to the touch or anything like that. When you eat them, a lot of times that oil flavor comes out and that oil texture comes out. That is what I'm picking up on in this more than anything right now. And it's a little off-putting. And here's another curled one, so I'm having trouble. There's a lot of things I'm struggling with right here if you're calling yourself the G.O.A.T. So far, I'm not seeing anything that makes me think this is the G.O.A.T of potato chips. All right, well, that's one. Here comes Louis. We've got some nice cold water here in Louis, and you can see the St. Louis Arch. That is the very symbol, really, of St. Louis. A lot of neat stuff down here. We have yet to check out the arch. We are planning on doing that. We just haven't had a chance to do that yet. And it's interesting because we're really right around the corner from the arch, so we've got to make time for that. Okay, I'm going to move on to the big bag now. Now, these obviously were more, but still, they weren't as expensive as a very large bag of potato chips. I want to say these might have been $3, $3.50, something like that. But this is sweet potato. So this one is a little bit different here. We've got sweet potato chips. These are 150 calories for 28 grams, and there's 3 servings in this package. I've always wondered about those companies that list their calorie counts in grams. Who's going to weigh out? I mean, it's one thing when you say 13 chips, 11 chips, even if it's an approximation. If you tell me 2 ounces, 28 grams, who's going to weigh that out when you're snacking? Okay, a little bit of a sweeter aroma coming off of this. Very much smells like, sort of like a baked sweet potato. That's an interesting aroma, not unpleasant, but there we go. Again, it looks like a lot of curling here, so I don't know what's going on with what they say as far as their website says. Here's a sweet potato chip. Here we go. Oh, Wow, that was not pleasant at all. There's a softness to I don't know if it was that one chip. Not much of a crispiness. There was an actual chew to that I don't necessarily prefer in my potato chips. And there's another folded one. Let's just try this one and see. Oh, no. Wow, this is so far from the GOAT that I can't even begin to tell you. Yeah, well within the expiration date stamped on the back here. So there's that greasiness to it. There's a softness to it. There's that chew that you get instead of a crunch. Overall, I don't prefer sweet potato chips. Overall, I do prefer regular potato chips, but I don't hate sweet potato chips. I don't like anything about this at all. All right, Louie's back. We'll try one more. All right, this is the kicker. We will see if this is the kicker. These are spicy. I've left these for last because I figured, spicy. We'll see what happens with these. Hopefully they've got a better product with this one. Okay, I don't smell anything coming out of this bag that makes me think they're overly spicy. I don't necessarily see anything on these chips that makes me think they're overly spicy. I do see some longer chips in here. Oh, you know what? There actually is a ridge on these. There we go. So this is kind of like a ruffled chip. Now this one, I can see what they're talking about here. This is longer, wider. This is what their website says all of their product is. They're hand making these, hand packing these 10,000 every day, and they're inspecting each one. I don't know how many, if their standard is that, okay, we're going to have this nice long flat potato chip. I don't know how so many of these curled ones are getting in there, but you can see there's some curled ones in there too. All right, let's see what the flavor is like on this, and especially the cook, because it's the cook that I have not been impressed with so far. Definitely crunchier. What's spicy on this? I'm not even noticing any salt on this. There's no flavor on this. This is a darker one. Whether that is seasoning or the actual potato itself, I guess we'll see. I don't know what's any different, this one from the original. That greasy flavor is there. All right, there we go. That is the G.O.A.T brand. Now, if you are familiar with my videos and you know I'm saying things that make me sound like I'm wrapping up here, and I definitely am, and you might be thinking, wait a minute, seal of approval is supposed to go there. These are not getting a seal of approval from me in any capacity, not even no stars. I don't like the cook on those. I don't like the feel of those in my mouth. I don't like the taste of those. I don't find anything appealing about those. If you are in St. Louis, if you want to try these, go to your grocery stores. You're going to find a display of them. Try them for yourself if you'd like. See what you think about them. I am not impressed. So I'm going to move on. I'm going to look for something else, look for some other local brands. Maybe we'll find something that delivers. G.O.A.T, greatest of all time? Definitely not these. I will catch you next time.